Hey, this is Lynn, just coming to you on a Wednesday and just to chat for a little bit, give you an update, share some things that are on my mind. The day started in a bit of a crisis from my viewpoint because I'm not yet weaned off of coffee. Who knows if I'm ever going to be weaned off of coffee? But my daughter got up early. She was going to a wedding and leaving at 7:30 this morning, and I woke up to her saying, "Sorry, Mom, I used the last of the coffee grounds." And for some reason, I didn't realize we were that low. I used I use the actual Bulletproof brand coffee because they guarantee that there isn't any mold in the coffee, and because I have issues with mold toxicity, difficulty clearing mold. Um, that's the coffee that I have. So I was like, oh my gosh, I have not had coffee. Now, I ordered a 3-pack of that coffee and I just got a notification from Amazon. It's 7 stops away. So, yay, I may actually be getting my coffee while I'm recording this. I'm so happy. Anyways, it is my vice. But I do have butter. I do make buttered coffee, and I keep it higher in fat, and I just put some monk drops in it, which is 0 calories, no glycemic index, actually helps stabilize my mast cells. So I try to keep it as healthy as possible. But anyways, I was thinking about, obviously when we're on a carnivore diet, we think about food a lot, and just coming from the perspective of being a nurse, and I think a lot about like what would have to change in the healthcare system in order for the carnivore diet to be accepted and inserted as a viable option in healthcare. Now, I think the hospital is a hard sell. You're dealing with acutely ill patients, and they have a variety of things. I mean, you have somebody in there with a bowel obstruction, you're not going to feed them a steak. You're not going to feed them anything until the bowel obstruction resolves. You're going to give them IV fluids and medications to try to help things along. You might be giving them, depending on the type of obstruction, they might be getting laxatives, but you're not going to just go feed people steak. Everything that the decisions that are made about nutrition, of course, are dependent on what they're there for. If they just had a stroke, they need to have a swallow evaluation done by this speech pathologist to see if it's even safe for them to swallow without aspirating into their lungs. So they may need to have, like just a thickened liquid diet, which we get these little packets that we put into the water that they drink, and it thickens it up, and it'll either be like a nectar thick liquid, or there's consistencies of thickness based on their swallowing ability. Somebody who's coming up on surgery, they can't eat. I'm sure if you've ever had surgery, you know that they have, say, MPO after midnight. But there's all these different diets depending on the situation. I printed this little cheat sheet out. I printed it out in black and white. It actually comes in color, and you're not going to be able to see the details. But this is off of a nursing website, and it's a hospital diet cheat sheet. I just want to show you, how long this list is. And I can put a link below if you want to look at it. I'll put a link in the description. But these are all the different diets, and depending on what the patient's condition is. And, a lot of them, you're not going to modify them because of the patient safety. So there may be ways to insert more carnivore into this, but I think that it's going to be a little bit more of a tough sell on the hospital side, because at this point, the carnivore diet is designed for optimal health and try to hopefully keep people out of the hospital. But I did work, I worked in hospitals and I worked with critically ill patients, but I also, worked outpatient. The last portion of my, 7 years of my nursing career, I was working outpatient, which I absolutely loved, working in gastroenterology and hepatology. And, I never worked in primary care. And honestly, I feel as though primary care is probably the place where getting the doctors to encourage a carnivore diet maybe an easier sell. I don't know if it's going to happen without a lot of people just choosing to do it and having the doctor see that, how their health has improved. Um, so we'll have to see. Those of us who are on it, the best we can do is to be on the diet, document everything we're doing, get our labs done, show the improvements, have actual records of the improvements, and then check out, if you haven't checked out Kerry on Homestead How, his website, his YouTube channel. Sorry, he's working on a documentary. I've been asked to help with the research on the documentary, so I'm pretty excited about that. So I don't know yet which area I'm going to be doing research in, but I'm happy and anxious to dive in and help as much as I can with researching for the documentary, and hopefully it's going to be a game changer for nutrition in healthcare. So really be thinking about, if you're on the carnivore diet, maybe starting a YouTube channel, or I am going to be learning how to do live streams, and I would love to be able to talk to people, some of my subscribers, people out there who are on the carnivore diet, and so that we can all share our stories, because it is really important. But it's interesting, like just thinking about obesity and among the different health issues I've had over the course of my life, obesity has been a common denominator, regardless of all the other things that I've dealt with. Obesity has been a common denominator. Started to gain a lot of weight when I developed polycystic ovarian syndrome, and as I went through my 20s and went through fertility treatments, they're really rough on a woman's body. And the stress from none of them working, and if you've watched my weight gain story, you'll know that I gained a lot of weight, and then the weight just continued over the decades with the various stressors in life and poor food choices. And I had visits, many visits over the years to doctors. I mean, like I've mentioned before, my videos, I've been to 17 different specialists over the course of my life, and it took a long time to get diagnosed with mast cell activation syndrome, because I was just going to specialists based on the symptoms I was having, and there wasn't really a thought that there was one underlying condition that was contributing to all of my symptoms. And so it was a long, many years, lots of lab tests and brain MRIs and, all sorts of stuff, and without any answers. And I had a primary doctor as well, who I would go to see on a regular basis. And one of the interesting things is that I don't recall any of those doctors expressing to me that I should lose weight. Now, if I brought it up, they would agree. But I don't think at one time I had a doctor say, I'm very concerned about your weight, and I feel as though we need to focus on your weight and getting the weight off. That always baffled me. And I guess that would mean that there's still so much stigma, or maybe some concern. And I don't know if the whole fat shaming, trend out there is influencing doctors, but obesity is, I believe, officially listed as a medical condition, a disease. So the fact that doctors are being presented with obese patients and not saying anything, it just blows my mind. Like, what other illness would a patient come in with and the doctor doesn't want to treat it? It doesn't make any sense to me. And I get the fact that there's going to be people who are resistant, and there's going to be people who are offended, but you're a doctor. You can handle it. I'm a nurse. I can handle it. Sorry, I shoved the table. Like, we're trained to use therapeutic communication. We're not going to shame people, but we should very, out of care, say, you're outside the range of a healthy weight, and I would like to help you get back within a healthy weight. I believe it would really benefit your health overall and would help you prevent a variety of illnesses in your future. Just see if the patient's receptive. And if they're not receptive, then say, well, ultimately it's your decision. And we say that regardless to what illness they're dealing with. It ultimately is the patient's decision whether they want to have their illness treated or not. Hopefully they're there because they want to have their illness treated, but I'm saying that the doctor should also bring up the elephant in the room, which is a horrible phrase in this situation, honestly, now that I think about it. But truly, metaphorically, there is an elephant in the room when you're talking about someone who's obese. And I wasn't just obese, I'm morbidly obese. So it's like, there's no way that doctor's not going to notice that I'm pushing 350 pounds. So anyways, that's something that I feel like really needs to be changed now. And I do believe that the doctors understand that diet is important. I just don't think that they really get that the healthy foods that are promoted as healthy aren't really healthy. I think that they categorize, when it comes to carbohydrates, anything that's not protein or fat, they categorize it as either junk food or healthy. And so you're taking this one category of carbs, and which all of them become sugar in your system. Obviously, if you eat sugar and a sugary dessert, it's going to be sugar in your system right away. If you eat something like an apple and it has sugar, it has natural sugars and fiber, it's just going to take longer for the sugar to get into your system, but it's still sugar. It's going to get into your system. So I think that the thing is that they're still seeing these things like salads and all this other, healthy food as a proper American diet. And I can't really blame them because that's what they've been taught. I mean, in nursing school, we were just taught, this is the standard American diet and this is the food guide pyramid. And if people eat this way, they'll be healthy. But at some point, you have to kind of open your eyes and see that people aren't healthy. And, it's not necessarily just junk food. I mean, I remember, I definitely had periods of time where I got to a point in my life where I gave up on trying to eat what I thought was healthy. And so I ate my share of garbage. I was never one of those that necessarily just lived off of garbage. I had a balance between, somewhat healthy, standard American diet, quote unquote, and then I liked my sweets. But didn't have them every day. I stopped drinking soft drinks, other than like a Zevia or, something diet. I stopped drinking soft drinks probably 15 years ago, maybe. I haven't drank juice for probably over 10 years. Like, I knew that the liquid sugar was probably the biggest culprit with getting people to be 500, 600, 700 plus pounds. You cannot eat that much food to gain that much weight. You have to drink it. And so I knew that much, and I opted for, better choices with my beverages. But my diet was very much carb intensive. I really didn't eat a lot of meat, and I didn't try to avoid fat, dietary fat. But for a while I was eating, I was using seed oils, and then I learned seed oils aren't good. So I started limiting my my oils to like olive oil and coconut oil and avocado oil. And then I started kind of migrating even away from that, using more butter and ghee. So it was, it was a process. But, when I would go to the doctor, and, if they had asked me how I ate, I wouldn't have thought that I ate that bad, compared to some people. I had some good qualities in the way that I ate, as far as not drinking a lot of calories, which is probably the only reason why I'm not 500 plus pounds. The fact that I, got up to almost 350 is not good, but I think I could have been a lot worse if I had been drinking all those calories in my beverages and the sugar beverages. But anyways, I diverged. Somehow I got off the topic. But anyways, I just I guess my point was, I don't think that doctors, I think that they think they're helping when they're suggesting a standard American diet, and they're advising their patients to avoid sweets, which, makes sense in most cases. But, I had done that before and it didn't work. It's like maybe initially you lose a little bit of weight, but then it's just not really sustainable. And I had gotten to the point where I had just, it's like, whatever, I don't care. It doesn't seem to matter what I do. I'm not going to lose the weight. Like, I was actually went to see a bariatric surgeon and was working with their nutritionist, and I was considering doing like a gastric sleeve surgery. I'm so glad I didn't. But they had me trying their diet and I gained weight. So it's like, they said, sorry, you don't qualify. And so they sent me to their nurse practitioner, who put me on actual like weight loss medication, which there's risks with it, especially cardiac risks with that medication. And it worked for me for a while, but then it stopped working. And, so I stopped. I just told her it's not really working anymore. And she told me ahead of time, a lot of times it doesn't work and you kind of have to just switch to a different medication. I wasn't really happy with the side effect profile with any of the other medications. So I just said, no, I'm not going to continue. And so whatever weight I lost from that came back. And it was just, a lot of you are probably like me. You've got that roller coaster up and down. But the bottom line is that the healthcare system doesn't have the answer. I mean, either they don't even mention that you're obese, or you go to see an obesity doctor that orders a diet that has, too many carbohydrates. And it just triggers the cravings. And I feel deprived because it's low fat. There's nothing better than eating good animal fat to keep me from feeling deprived and satisfied and not feeling like I want to eat any sweets or anything like that. So, so I feel working in gastroenterology. I know I'm just kind of rambling. So if you're still here, thank you. Appreciate you staying here and listening to me just ramble on. But it's just kind of one of these videos where I'm just kind of thinking out loud. Like, I didn't plan anything. I didn't take any notes. I just, printed out this list of hospital diets. I just got a notification that my coffee's here. Yes. Okay. Anyways, I will resist the urge to run to the front door and make myself a pot of coffee while I'm doing the video. But as soon as I'm done, that's what I'm going to do. Anyways, sorry. Okay, where was I? So anyways, yeah. So for her, I worked gastroenterology, and, fiber was a big issue. Like, there was a lot of promotion for make sure you're getting enough fiber. And I think, obviously the big deal with the gastroenterology is keep your bowels in good shape and keep them moving. And it was great to have a bowel movement every day. If you could have 2-3 bowel movements that are normal every day, meaning, formed and nice, normal color and easy to pass. You don't have to strain. I know I'm talking about poop, but, poop is a real thing. It's very important. But, it was always again, the focus was on fiber and making sure that you're getting enough fiber in your diet and you're eating your fruits and vegetables. And if there was if there was active GI inflammation going on, the first thing we did was say cut way back on that fiber. Um, and they would be put on like a bland diet. And so, or sometimes we would put them on a clear liquid diet. If they were, vomiting, we would sometimes tell them, for a period of time, don't eat anything, don't drink anything. If you're just throwing up, give your gut a rest. And obviously that's not sustainable long term, but it's okay to go 5-6 hours and just give your gut a rest and don't eat or drink anything. And then maybe try some broth. Usually I'd say try some chicken broth. If they can handle chicken broth, then they could add maybe some, chicken noodle soup and see how they did with that. And of course, we'd tell them to stick with all of the white, refined, processed down things like saltine crackers and like plain white toast and applesauce, because it's there's no skin and it's all cooked down and real soft and really easy to digest. And that was the recommendations that we gave. And somebody with Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis, that was the type of food they would eat if they could while they were in a flare, because the fiber would just accelerate their diarrhea and inflammation. So it's really interesting coming from a gastroenterology perspective. And I know I've mentioned this in one of my other videos, that I just thought it was really interesting that the gastroenterologists were not experts in what food you should eat. Now, they had some general guidelines, for like, say, the liver patients, that for the doctors that were like hepatologists. But when it came to things like the autoimmune diseases like Crohn's and ulcerative colitis, when the patients weren't in a flare, they were told you can eat whatever you want. And so I mean, it's a weird messaging. I had a patient, I think this person had like Crohn's disease and called one day, and he was having what he thought was a flare. And the calls often will come to the nurses first, and so I got this call, and he was telling me about these horrible symptoms he was having, and just like, if you're grossed out, then plug your ears. But he was having just this really runny, explosive diarrhea, and he was in miserable shape and abdominal pain, and he had only had the symptoms for maybe a day. And so I asked him, like, did you eat anything? Like, I always took the perspective of like, okay, I know they have a diagnosis of Crohn's disease, but I'm not going to just assume it's their Crohn's disease. I have to be a good nurse, and I have to make sure that there's something else going on. And so I asked him, the basic standard question is like, did you eat anything weird? Did you eat out or, whatever? And he goes, well, the other night I went to a party and I had, a fifth, is that what it is? The liquor, a fifth liquor and nachos, a big old plate of nachos. I'm like, okay, I think we found the culprit, and he's like, oh my gosh, I feel so dumb. I can't believe I called you because I did this to myself. And, so I told him like, okay, take it easy on your stomach and stick with bland foods. And, I think I called him the next day and he was better. But anyways, it just kind of shows that here is somebody who actually has Crohn's disease, and he had been in remission and he had been fine, but he had not been given any real dietary instructions about what to eat or not what to or what to eat and what not to eat. And so he kind of messed his gut up for a while there. But anyways, I just think that there's got to be something that we can do to kind of break through. And I think that most doctors, and I've worked with a ton of doctors, and the vast majority of them are really good doctors, and they are open-minded, and they are open to suggestions, and they do want things to be evidence-based. Um, and I hope that strictly needing like the double-blind placebo-controlled trials and only those as evidence is going to be revisited, because I do think that anecdotal evidence does count. I think that when you have enough people that have experienced something, maybe it'll prompt a trial, but I think that if the doctors see that their patients are getting better and their patients are trying this diet and they're getting better, I think that they will be open to it, because ultimately most of the doctors want their patients to get better. They don't want them to be sick. And I think that the whole, okay, yeah, there's doctors out there that just, they like to line their pockets, but I think that's the minority. Just like there's bad cops. Sure, there's doctors that are greedy, but honestly, the doctors I've worked with have been fantastic, and I really have seen them go above and beyond for their patients. And I feel like if they knew that this was helping people, that they would have enough curiosity to check it out. So anyways, that's my ramblings for today. I'm so excited to go get my coffee and make myself some coffee. But it's something that I think I'm thinking about this because, I'm going to be helping with the documentary, the Carnivore Diet documentary. And, I care. It matters. I mean, I've had to retire from nursing because of my condition. And who knows? Who knows what would have happened if I had done this diet, long time, decades ago, what my health would be right now. I may not have had to retire. But I'm still a nurse. I mean, that's my profession, and I care about people, and I want to help people. And it was very difficult to see people miserable and suffering. And it's not just their physical health, it affects their mental health as well. And so this is a huge undertaking, but I think that, the right doctors are going to listen. And it may be a slow movement, but I think we can do it. So anyways, that's it. So I am going to be learning how to do a live stream, probably going to practice on my husband. And I've got a commitment as well from my daughter to do a live stream with me and let me interview her. Now, she's not carnivore, and I'm going to do an interview with her because she does have health issues. And I want to let her share her story and her history with food and talk about her health issues and talk about why I'm not recommending her to just go in and be carnivore. And she's not even keto. And I'm in agreement with the approach that she is taking. Some advice from me, but I'm in agreement with the approach that she's taking. And I want to share why there are exceptions where people can't just go and say, okay, I'm going to go do a carnivore diet. There's legitimate reasons to not do it at the moment. So I hope that will pique some curiosity as to what the story is with my daughter. And hopefully she won't be too nervous. She goes in front of camera all the time. She's a children's pastor. She helps to film like announcements and stuff at the church, and for different events with the kids program and stuff. So she's not shy. So anyways, I hope everyone's having a wonderful day. And again, if you're still with me after this long ramble, thank you very much. I think that's basically it. So anyways, I'll be back. I do want to do video on exercise, so I may grab my husband and have us kind of film some stuff regarding exercise and document what I can do and what he can do and what I can't do, which is a lot. Anyways, have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.